Hi, it's Michèle from Dasami Publishing here with episode 8 of the Dasami Bookworm podcast. Today, I am here in my very warm office in Glasgow, which doesn't happen very often at all. We're trying not to melt. And I'm delighted to say that my guest today is Holly Richards, who is down south and melting even more than we are. She's a very talented artist, illustrator, and our cover designer. And we'll be chatting about Holly's art, her illustrations, and working with books. Welcome, Holly.
Hi, Michelle. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. All right. Before we go into the rest of it, how warm is it where you are?
When I got out of my car, it said 33 degrees, and I'm just hiding inside to hope that inside is going to stay nice and chilled, at least in the room that I'm in at the moment.
Excellent. Well, that's wonderful because we'll have a chilled conversation about your artistry. So my first question is, Holly, where did your interest in art first begin?
I think my family has been quite artistic, so I've always been around it. Both my parents were quite artistic, so my dad was always drawing a lot, and my mum studied an art course at college where after my sister was born, so it's always been part of my life, and then it's just grown on from that.
So when you were very, very small, toddler and such, would you, watch what your parents had did, your mother and father? So Holly, what age would you say that you started drawing or doing your artistry?
I don't think I could put a number on it because it's something that I can't remember not doing it, if that makes sense. I remember on being young on family holidays and sitting in airports drawing, or drawing on my homework and doodling and stuff like that. So as long as I had a piece of paper, I was probably drawing.
So it's as long as you can remember, which sounds wonderful. I wished I had that. Now, you've been drawing, you do illustrations. Is there a favorite medium that you like to work in, or is it computers?
I quite like working with just pen, pencil. Like if other mediums I sort of flip between, but you can never fault just a simple pen, just like quick sketching with a pencil at the base level. That will do with anything that works, like pen and paper.
And you always have that with you. I know you carry it.
Yes, absolutely. There's always a sketchbook in my bag, always a pen or a pencil, something just on hand for whenever inspiration strikes.
Which is great because if you go out for a coffee or tea or meet someone or just people watch, you can just start right away.
Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't always happen, but I'm always prepared.
When you're out and about, Holly, is there something that inspires you in particular? Could it be, nature or people or animals, or is there anything?
I find myself being drawn to pretty much anything in nature is what tends to inspire me. For like, if I'm stuck with something to draw, that's sort of where I'll start, nature and animals, and then it sort of more into the sort of fantasy and mythical elements come in as well. But pretty much nature, I think, features in most of my work.
So we keep turning to you, Dasami does. We keep turning to you for your illustrations and your covers, and you've been working with us for 3 years. I know it's 3 years. I can't believe it. It's passed so quickly.
It's gone so fast.
It has, and it's been a variety of forms. So you've done the Dasami Bookworm logo, which we have out for our podcast. So we love him because he's just reading all the time. Absolutely, the children's books, which are Wee Wobblers, and we've got Bernie the Bear. You can't go there, and the flip side of Bernie the Bear, you can go there. The other children's series, The Life of Charlie Ryan, A Squirrel's Tale, and new releases, Charlie and Lola, A Tale of Two Squirrels, which you've done the cover and the illustrations. And then you've done the covers for the Andy Blackmore series. And then, of course, you've done the cover and illustrations for the Hell series, which is Trinity Rose's Hell's Daughter, Hell's Key, and the prequel, which is, we are just going to leave in a mystery of Hell's Sacrifice. So that's a lot of work that you've done for us. The children's books involved, I know, quite a bit of artistry in there. So tell us about the process for that, please.
With the picture books, you sort of dive into the theme first of all. With the Wee Wobblers, there was a jungle theme, so that's where I started. And with Bernie the bear, it was a bear, and then in the two environments of the forest and then the sort of more neighborhood aspects. So I sort of dive in with visuals there just to get a foothold that I can then bring into the words and the text when that starts. So just to start exploring the theme and generally and getting a set on what media I wanted to use. With Wee Wobblers, I used gouache paints, and then Bernie is done in watercolors.
And Bernie is so wonderful. I know he is near and dear to my heart. And I understand Catherine had a few special wishes about, the rainbow boa, and the floppy hat and all of those. So is it working with authors? How comfortable are you with that?
Yeah, very comfortable. With some of them, I work very closely with them, and sort of go step by step and sort of keep them in the loop. I have a particularly close relationship working with Trinity Rose on the Hell series, so I want her, like the author's vision, to come through in my work where possible, because I want our own visions to align, and then hopefully that will match with how the readers see it too. So we have quite a big back and forth, but sometimes when inspiration strikes, you find yourself going off on working maybe a little bit further ahead than you intend to, and fortunately that's worked out for me so far, and everyone's quite happy with where I'm going.
Absolutely. All of our authors, I know Shirley loves the illustrations that you've done. And Charlie, Charlie is so cute, such an adorable squirrel. And because he is from Zambia, he's got his particular type of squirrel, a sun squirrel, has an exceptionally long tail, which you incorporated into the drawings and to the cover. And then, of course, with the introduction of Lola, you've got another character in there, which will, it's slightly different. So, Holly, as we've spoken about with the illustrations, and you brought out Trinity Rose's illustrations, which we'll talk about in a moment, but with Charlie and Lola, two very different squirrels. They're sun squirrels because they're from Zambia, and they have very long tails, which you incorporated into the cover of the book very, very well. Do you have an affinity with animals and drawing them?
Yes, when I'm working animals into my stories, I quite like them to be as realistic as possible and get the where possible, like species relevant to the settings and things like that. So to have it like just a touch of accuracy and like real life, just a bit of realism within the artwork, so without it being perfect, just to inform that. And I think it just makes it more understandable and relatable, because squirrels do not look the same over here as they do in Zambia. So I wanted it to reflect that.
It absolutely did. And I think one of the cutest little illustrations is where he's a baby and he's fitting in, the cup of the hand, and you see that. And all of the features come out so clearly, which is absolutely, I think it's fantastic. I just love it because when you see that and visualize it, it's wonderful. So now with the illustrations for Trinity Rose, they are as detailed and the characters come to life so well in the book. So tell us a little bit about, we won't, so Enzio's character, and then a little bit about Alex to just pique our audience's interest in it.
Yeah, so for both of those characters, where they're so integral to the story and they have quite a particular look, I worked with Trinity Rose to establish what absolutely had to be included. So she created a mood board with celebrity references and of like the sort of people that she thought that they would look similar to, the types of outfits they'd wear, color schemes, even though everything's in black and white inside the book, but it helps get a sense of how everything will tie together. And then I sort of take those and make an amalgamation of that what she's provided, sort of to tie it all together, and then make a couple of sketches and see if I'm on the right track. And she gets very, very excited when it comes to life.
I know I do too. When I see them start up, it's because the characters, when you read it, you picture something in your head. And that's why movies are sometimes a disappointment, because it's never the realization of what you've had in your mind. However, with the illustrations in the book, in the novels, they are perfect to the character, and so much that they'd have to have that, actor or someone look like it. So now with the Hell series and the covers, the first one with Hell's Daughter, it's very different, with the colors being more kind of green and yellowish and a silhouette. How did you guys create that?
With that, we flitted around a lot of different themes. And without giving too many spoilers away, the duality of demonic possession and the way that certain characters mirror and interact throughout the book, that's what we wanted to sort of bring into that, but without giving away too much who the characters were on the cover, so that we wanted to create intrigue, and for the cover to get more meaning as you read the book. You'd pick out more details, and then it would sort of make more sense. The more you understood the story, the more you could see reflected in it. And where the first book is the introduction, we didn't want to go too heavy on the color scheme, because it's just your first step into that world. So we wanted everything to reflect that.
And it's almost three-dimensional, because when you look at the cover, you see the silhouettes. But as you said, once you start reading the story and you go back to the cover, then you notice the subtlety of what's in the background. And that does enrich the story itself. Absolutely. So with Hell's Key, there was a change in the color of the front. What brought that around?
In discussions with Trinity Rose, we wanted the books to have a similar theme, but be each book to have a different main color to sort of stand out. So where the first one we really leaned into the greens, she knew that for the prequel she wanted it to be red, so blues and reds for the second book, so it sort of felt like the right choice for that one.
Yes. Now, we've discussed about, working with the authors. Is there a specific step-by-step process you use every time, or is it different? And what is the process that you do use for a cover?
I think the first step for me is to read the material to get a sense, because sometimes it will be a small detail that will come out and then you're like, that needs to be on the cover, or you get a better sense. And talking with the author, with some it's a slightly more obvious choice. With the Charlie Ryan books, you knew exactly what had to be on the cover. Life of Charlie needs to be on the cover. Charlie and Lola needed to be on the cover. So that was I knew what I was doing from the off, and then it's just getting the right for the composition to balance. But yeah, with the Hell series, it was a bit more nuanced, a bit more complicated, just finding that right settling between what worked artistically, what the author was happy with, and also working as a cover and getting like the readers attached and stuff. So we worked through, I think after I read the book, I got her to show me some examples of covers that she liked, and then I went and with the first book went through 30 plus different thumbnail designs, and then we narrowed everything down. And once we had that theme of the silhouette with the stuff inside it, the next two covers, it was a much more streamlined process of just getting from the source material to the finished cover.
Absolutely. Now, the Andy Blackmore series, the two covers, and I know there's another one coming out next year, the covers on the series of that, how did that work out?
With those, it was quite specific in what was wanted from the author. And fascinatingly, each book has a very specific different model of police car or car on the front cover, which was an approach that was new to me, because a car is very different to all of the nature and stuff that I draw, but getting the right references, and I knew that I'd done it well, when I had my table in a bit of a mess and I had the painting of the car just to the side, and my granddad came in and he could immediately tell me what the car was. And I'm like, I will take your word for it, because I don't know cars very well myself, but I knew that we'd achieved what we wanted to when he could pick out the car just from the artwork.
Excellent. That is very true, because it's set in the 70s. So that was very much a generational type. So it was specific to that. So kudos to you, because it is understanding the author and what they want, and then bringing that artistry to life. So for the children's picture books, which is full color, lots of color, how is the process on that? I know once you have the story and the settings, but what's the process for creating those colored illustrations?
With those, they're very much more sort of emotional and character driven and setting driven, because you want to be sort of sucked into the story and be fully immersed in the world of these characters. So with that, and where they're for children, I wanted them bright and colourful. And with Bernie, again, there's a duality to it with the front cover and the sort of other front cover, as it's two stories that both meet in the middle. Once I had one cover how I knew I wanted it, the other one was a reflection of that, in that it was the same layout but the setting was different. So it looked the same but everything was slightly different as well.
We get so many compliments when I flip that book over and they see two front covers, and everybody looks at the detail and just they rave about the artist. They rave about it. So swelled head is allowed. Swelled head is allowed. Pat yourself on the back. So I noticed that during our conversation, we've heard little noises in the background, and I think that's part of the furry family members. Do we get an introduction?
Yes, because of the glorious heat we have outside, my studio is the coolest room in the house, which means it is kind of perfect for my two huskies, Hunter and Echo, to hang around with me. Unfortunately, they make a little bit of noise every now and then as they try and hunt out treats and toys, and apparently steal each other's lovely little chicken flavored ice blocks that I've got for them to keep them cool today. So a few munching and crunching, but it's all in animal welfare and keeping them cool.
Absolutely. That's very important. And, the furry members of the family, they are key to making, a family joyous and creating all of the wonders that they do. And yes, so they just get to be part of our little podcast today. So we've talked a lot about the work that you've done, Holly, and how you process it. For illustrators, artists, designers that want to start out and do this kind of work, what advice would you give to them? What advice would you say?
Well, for any creative person, where you want to be creating things, you need to practice every day if you can. Obviously, don't burn out, don't overdo it, but a little bit every day to keep your work evolving and your ideas fresh is always good advice. But otherwise, it's all in the context. You need to want to be reaching out, making people aware of who you are. One email can change the course of your career, as you well know. Just making yourself known to publishers and art directors, put yourself out there, create your portfolio, and just make people aware of who you are. It might not come straight away, but someone will have a project that will fit the style of work that you're doing. And if they don't know that you're out there, you won't get that work. So you just need to put yourself out there and continuously develop your work. Eventually, success will happen.
Which leads perfectly into the next question that I have, is that I know you do other commissions of work, not just create your artistry for Jasami, but I know you've done quite a few projects historically. I know I purchased one of them and they were fantastic. What was the series again? The 4 Men of the Apocalypse.
Yes, the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse. I did a series of artworks, which I then got made into hard enamel pins, which are quite popular, which is quite fun to sell. And just seeing like translating like a piece of artwork into something small and wearable is quite fun.
Yes, because then it's everywhere. So you do other commissions as well. So what's the type of commissions that you'll work on, Holly?
I do a lot of pet portraits at the moment, which is great fun, capturing the likeness of someone's animal, whether it's in memoriam of an animal that's passed away, or just to celebrate. Get a few done for birthdays, whether it's the owner's birthday or the pet's birthday. Those are quite fun too.
Celebrating birthdays is always huge. I think that's very, very important and should be celebrated. And the furry members of the family, and if they're not furry, if they're a reptile or whatever else they might be, it's still a member of the family. So the commissions go far and wide. So your artistry goes further. But that's not all about you. I know you love exploring the world and traveling and such. And little birdie's told me that you're going to be heading Far East. Is that right?
Yes. If all goes well and all goes to plan, I haven't got my flights booked yet, but I should be spending October and maybe a little bit of November in Japan. I'm going to be studying Japanese in Kyoto for 4 weeks, which I think will be an amazing experience.
Absolutely. Traveling the world opens the horizons and opens our eyes and opens ourselves as people into other cultures. So you've been there before? You've traveled to Japan before?
Yes. Me and my friend went in April of 2019, and just at the time it was perfect for cherry blossoms, and I created a lot of artwork inspired on that trip. So I'm hoping that this trip will lead to more avenues as well, because it's such an inspiring place for me.
As beautiful as it would be, I'd love to see the artwork created. You'll probably need a separate case for it, if I know that. So I think that's really important, is that artists always go out and explore the world, and that will feed the artistry and the creativity, which is so important to artists and writers. All of us need that. So is there anything else you'd like to say to the listening creative artists out there?
Just find what inspires you and chase it. That's the best advice I can give. Once you find something that you're passionate about, just follow it wherever it leads you.
Iconic words. So Holly, I thank you so much for joining us here today, and for Echo and Hunter in the background, we thank you. We always give shout outs, as there is very important in our podcast. Who would you like to do a shout out today to?
To my sister. Well, both of my sisters actually, before I leave one out. Alicia and Ruby, for all of the continued support and the furry family is quite extended when you go into all of the animals around us, and everything that they do.
Wonderful. And my shout out's a little bit more general, but kind of goes along with what we're talking about. My shout out is to all of the artists who create such beautiful things in the world for us to admire, see, and take part in. So we thank you very much for that. Now, I usually say what we're going to do on our next episode, but sometimes I reveal that I'm not going to tell you because we want it to be a mystery. So don't forget to download so you can enjoy listening to us at any point in time. And now we just want to say cheerio. So cheerio.
Thank you, and see you later.
Thank you very much, Holly. And we wish you all, as ever, a very sunny week. From Michèle at Jasami Bookworm Podcast, again, sunny week.